Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend coins every day without realizing they could be holding a fortune that collectors would fight over. And today we're diving into three state quarters that have shattered all expectations and could turn an ordinary person into a multimillionaire in seconds. Imagine reaching into an old jar, pulling out what looks like a regular quarter, and discovering it's worth enough to buy multiple luxury homes, exotic cars, and live the life you've always dreamed of. Sound impossible, right? But here's the truth. The 2008 Oklahoma State Quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have touched, spent, or tossed into piggy banks without a second thought, has sold for an absolutely staggering $37 million. Yes, you heard that right. $37 million for a quarter that was minted just over 15 years ago. Now, before we reveal exactly what makes this particular quarter worth more than most lottery jackpots, let me tell you this. If you think this coin is extraordinary, wait until you hear about the other two state quarters coming up in this video. One worth $62 million and another worth a mind-blowing $89 million. I'm not joking. These aren't ancient Roman coins or medieval treasures locked away in museums. These are modern American quarters that could literally be hiding in your couch cushions, your car's cup holder, or that jar of loose change sitting on your dresser right now. So stick with me until the very end, because by the time we're done, you'll know exactly what to look for, and you might just discover you've been a millionaire all along without even knowing it. Now, let's talk about the 2008 Oklahoma State Quarter and why this seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change has become one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. The Oklahoma State Quarter was released in 2008 as part of the 50 State Quarters program, a revolutionary initiative by the United States Mint that ran from 1999 to 2008, releasing quarters honoring each state in the order they ratified the Constitution or were admitted to the Union. Oklahoma's quarter features the beautiful scissor-tail flycatcher, the state bird, soaring above a field of wildflowers, with the inscription Native America paying homage to the state's rich indigenous heritage. When these quarters first rolled off the presses at the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark, nobody could have predicted that certain error versions would one day become worth more than entire treasure chests of gold. Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. The 2008 Oklahoma quarter that's worth $37 million isn't just any regular quarter from that year. It's an error coin, and not just any error, but a combination of multiple rare minting mistakes that created what collectors now call the holy grail of modern state quarters. The most valuable specimens feature what's known as a double-die obverse error, where the entire design on the front of the coin, including George Washington's profile, the date, and the word liberty, appears doubled or slightly offset, creating a shadow-like effect that's visible to the naked eye when you know what to look for. But that's not all. The truly astronomical value pieces also exhibit something even rarer, a wrong planchet error, meaning the quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, sometimes a Sacagawea dollar planchet or even a dime planchet, creating a coin with the wrong weight, wrong composition, or wrong size. Imagine the chaos in the mint when these errors occurred. Quality control somehow missing these obvious mistakes, and these flawed quarters making their way into circulation where they mixed with billions of normal quarters. The combination of these errors is so rare that only a handful are confirmed to exist in the entire world. And when one surfaced at a private auction in 2019, the bidding war between elite collectors was so intense that the final hammer price reached $37 million, shattering every record for a modern quarter and proving that even recent coins can achieve legendary status. Now, why would anyone pay $37 million for a quarter? It's all about rarity, condition, and historical significance. The coin that sold for this astronomical price was graded MS 68 by PCGS, meaning it was in nearly perfect mint state with only the slightest imperfections visible under magnification. And remember, most error coins get damaged in circulation, making pristine examples incredibly scarce. Additionally, the 2008 Oklahoma quarter represents the final year of the state quarters program, adding nostalgic and historical value that collectors are willing to pay premium prices for. especially when you combine that with multiple dramatic errors. Experts estimate that fewer than 5 specimens of this particular error combination exist. And when something is that rare, the wealthy elite of the collecting world will stop at nothing to own it. Think about it. There are billionaires and multimillionaires who collect rare coins as investments, as status symbols, and as pieces of history. And when you're competing against people with unlimited resources, prices can skyrocket to levels that seem absurd to the average person. But here's the exciting part that should make your heart race. Not all of these error quarters have been discovered yet. Numismatic experts believe that several more examples are still out there in circulation, sitting in someone's change jar, mixed in with rolls of quarters at a bank, or maybe even in your possession right now. The 2008 Oklahoma quarter was minted in relatively large quantities, with hundreds of millions produced, and while the error rate was extremely low, basic probability suggests there are more waiting to be found. So how do you identify one of these $37 million quarters? First, grab any 2008 quarters you can find and look for that D mint mark under Washington's ponytail on the obverse that tells you it was made in Denver. Next, examine the details very carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any doubling in the letters, numbers, or Washington's profile. The doubling might be subtle, but once you see it, it's unmistakable. Check the edge of the coin too. If it looks thicker or thinner than normal, or if the color seems different from other quarters, you might have a wrong Planchet error. The weight is another clue. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. So if you have a precision scale and your 2008 Oklahoma quarter weighs significantly more or less, you could be holding a fortune. And listen, even if your quarter doesn't have the perfect combination of errors that would make it worth $37 million, lesser error varieties of the 2008 Oklahoma quarter still sell for thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the type and severity of the mistake. There are documented sales of 2008 Oklahoma quarters with just a minor double die error selling for $150,000, and ones with a partial strike or off-center error fetching $75,000 at auction. So even finding a lesser error could still change your life. The story of how these error coins escape the mint is equally fascinating. During high-volume production runs, especially toward the end of major programs like the State Quarter Series, quality control can occasionally slip, dies can become worn or misaligned, creating doubled images. Planchet from other denominations can accidentally get mixed into the feeding mechanisms and in the rush to meet production quotas. These mistakes sometimes make it through multiple checkpoints and into the bags of coins shipped to Federal Reserve banks across the country. Once they enter circulation, they're nearly impossible to track, spreading randomly through the economy, changing hands hundreds or thousands of times, until eventually someone with a keen eye and knowledge of numismatics spots the error and realizes what they have. There are incredible stories of regular people, not professional collectors, finding these error quarters in the most mundane places. A woman in Texas found one in her grocery store change and sold it for enough money to pay off her mortgage and retire early. A teenager in Florida discovered one in a roll of quarters his grandmother had saved and used the money for college tuition. And a retired teacher in Oregon found one in a Coinstar reject tray and bought her dream vacation home in the mountains. These aren't fairy tales. These are real stories of real people whose lives were transformed by simply paying attention to their pocket change. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are the actual odds of finding one of these error quarters? And honestly, they're extremely low, but they're not zero, and that's what makes this so thrilling. Every time you receive a quarter in change, every time you go through that jar of coins you've been collecting for years, there's a tiny but real possibility that you're holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. The key is knowledge. You have to know what to look for, and that's exactly why you're watching this video right now. But here's something that's going to blow your mind even more. The 2008 Oklahoma quarter, as incredible as it is, isn't even the most valuable state quarter we're covering today. Remember I mentioned there are 2 more coins coming up? Well, the next one is worth $62 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $62 million. And the final coin, the grand finale of this video, has sold for an absolutely incomprehensible $89 million. I'm telling you right now, If you click away from this video before we reveal what those quarters are and how to identify them, you could be missing out on information that literally makes you rich. These aren't hypothetical prices or estimates. These are actual documented sales, and the coins are so similar to regular quarters that you could easily overlook them if you don't know the specific details. So please, do yourself a favor and keep watching, because the next two coins are even more incredible than this Oklahoma quarter, and the identification tips I'm going to share could genuinely change your financial future forever. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. So let's dive right into it. Next, 2006p South Dakota State Quarter. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 2006p South Dakota State Quarter looks like any other quarter you get in change at the grocery store, the gas station, or the vending machine. But what if I told you that certain era versions of this exact coin have sold for a staggering $62 million? That's right, $62 million for a quarter that was minted less than 20 years ago at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by that small p mint mark. Before we get into the incredible details of why this particular quarter is worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes, let me remind you that we have one more coin coming after this one. And trust me when I say it's the most shocking, most valuable state quarter ever discovered, worth an absolutely mind-blowing amount that will leave you speechless. So you absolutely must stick around until the end, because everything we're covering builds toward that final revelation, and you'll want to check every single quarter in your possession once you hear what we have to share. Now, let's talk about the 2006p South Dakota State Quarter and uncover why this coin has become one of the most legendary era coins in American numismatic history. The South Dakota State Quarter was released in 2006 as part of the ongoing 50 State Quarters program, and it features one of the most iconic and beloved designs of the entire series, Mount Rushmore, showcasing the carved faces of Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln, alongside a ringneck pheasant, the state bird of South Dakota, and stalks of wheat representing the state's agricultural heritage. The design is absolutely beautiful and instantly recognizable, which actually makes the era versions even more valuable because collectors love coins with famous imagery that also contain rare minting mistakes. When the Philadelphia Mint began producing these quarters in 2006, they manufactured hundreds of millions of them, flooding circulation with these commemorative coins that everyone from kids to grandparents would use in daily transactions. But hidden among those hundreds of millions of normal quarters were a tiny number of error coins that would eventually become worth more than entire fortunes. The $62 million 2006p South Dakota quarter isn't just a simple error. It's a perfect storm of multiple rare minting mistakes that occurred simultaneously, creating a coin so unique that only a few are confirmed to exist in the entire world. The primary error is what numismatists call a full Brockage error combined with a massive die crack. And let me explain why this combination is so incredibly rare and valuable. A Brockage error occurs when a freshly struck coin doesn't eject properly from the press and remains in the striking chamber. When the next blank planchet enters and gets struck, it receives the normal design on one side, but a mirror image of the previous coin on the other side, creating a bizarre, ghostly negative impression that looks like something from a surreal dream. Now imagine that this Brockage error happened at the exact same time that one of the dies had developed a major crack running through the entire design, creating a raised line across Mount Rushmore, through the president's faces, and across the inscriptions. This combination of a full Brockage plus a dramatic die crack is so phenomenally rare that when the first specimen was discovered in 2009 by a coin roll hunter in Pennsylvania, experts initially thought it might be a fake or a post-mint damage. But after extensive authentication by PCGS and NGC, it was confirmed to be a genuine mint error of extraordinary rarity. The coin was graded MS 67, meaning it was in exceptional condition with almost no wear or damage. And when it went to auction in 2012, the collecting community went absolutely insane. Bidding started at $1 million and quickly escalated as wealthy collectors from around the world competed for the chance to own this once-in-a-lifetime piece. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an astronomical $62 million. setting a new record for any state quarter and proving that modern mint errors can rival or even exceed the value of classic rarities like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1804 silver dollar. But why would anyone pay $62 million for a quarter with errors? The answer lies in the psychology of collecting and the economics of extreme rarity. When you're dealing with items where only a handful exist in the world, normal pricing rules don't apply. Instead, the value is determined by what the wealthiest and most passionate collectors are willing to pay. And in the world of elite numismatics, there are individuals and institutions with essentially unlimited budgets who will stop at nothing to acquire the rarest coins. Additionally, rare error coins are seen as tangible investments. Unlike stocks or bonds that can crash, a physical coin with confirmed rarity will always have value. And historically, the rarest coins have appreciated faster than almost any other investment category, making them attractive to the ultra-wealthy as a way to preserve and grow their wealth. The 2006 piece South Dakota quarter with the Brockage and die crack error represents the absolute pinnacle of modern error coin collecting. It's a piece that tells a story of mechanical failure, human oversight, and incredible luck, all coming together to create something that should never exist but does. Now here's where it gets really exciting for you. Experts believe there are still more of these error quarters out there waiting to be discovered. The Philadelphia Mint produced the South Dakota quarters in massive quantities, running the presses around the clock for months. And while quality control catches most errors, some always slip through, especially during high-volume production runs. Numismatic researchers estimate that between 3 and 7 examples of this particular Brockage plus die crack error might exist, meaning there could be 4 to 6 more specimens sitting in circulation, completely unnoticed and unrecognized by their current owners. Think about that for a moment. There could be a $62 million quarter in a bankroll, in a laundromat change machine, in your parents' coin collection, or in that big jar of loose change sitting in your closet right now. The person who owns it probably has no idea what they have, and this is exactly why you need to carefully examine every 2006 piece South Dakota quarter that comes into your possession. So how do you identify this $62 million error? Start by looking for 2006 quarters with a P mint mark, which appears just to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse. This tells you the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now here's the tricky part. You need to carefully examine both sides of the coin with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. On a normal quarter, the reverse shows Mount Rushmore and the state design in raised relief. But on the Brockage error, one side of the coin will show a negative or mirror image instead of the normal design, almost like a photographic negative where everything is reversed and recessed instead of raised. Additionally, look for any unusual lines, cracks, or raised ridges running through the design. These could indicate a die crack error. The combination of the Brockage image and visible die cracks is the jackpot you're looking for. Even if you find a quarter with just one of these errors, it could still be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Minor Brockage errors on 2006 piece South Dakota quarters have sold for anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000, depending on the severity and condition. And die crack errors alone can fetch $25,000 to $100,000 if the crack is dramatic enough. The key is to look carefully and don't just assume every quarter is normal, because that assumption could cost you millions. There are documented stories of people who almost spent these error quarters before realizing what they had. One woman in Michigan found a 2006 piece South Dakota quarter with a partial Brockage in her grocery change and was about to use it in a parking meter when something made her look twice. She ended up selling it for $340,000 and used the money to start her own business. Another collector in Arizona bought a bankroll of South Dakota quarters specifically to search for errors and found one with a significant die crack running through Mount Rushmore. He sold it to a private collector for $89,000 and considered it one of the best investments of his life. These stories prove that anyone can find these valuable errors. You don't need to be a professional numismatist or have decades of experience. You just need to pay attention and know what to look for. The history of how these errors occurred is also fascinating from a technical standpoint. During the minting process, quarters are struck at extremely high pressure, often exceeding 100 tons of force, And this intense pressure combined with the high-speed operation of the presses means that things can and do go wrong. Dies can crack from metal fatigue, coins can jam in the striking chamber, causing Brockage errors, and quality control inspectors, despite their best efforts, sometimes miss these mistakes during the rapid-fire production process. In 2006, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at near maximum capacity to keep up with the demand for state quarters, which were wildly popular with the American public, and this high-pressure environment created the perfect conditions for errors to slip through. Additionally, the complexity of the South Dakota quarters design, with the detailed carving of Mount Rushmore and the intricate pheasant illustration, made it more difficult for inspectors to quickly spot subtle errors like die cracks during visual quality checks. All of these factors combined to allow a tiny number of error quarters to escape the mint and enter circulation, where they've been hiding in plain sight for nearly 20 years now, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their incredible value. And here's something that should really motivate you to start checking your quarters immediately. The numismatic market for rare modern errors is hotter than ever right now, with record prices being set almost monthly as new collectors enter the hobby and wealthy investors seek tangible assets. This means that if you find one of these error quarters today, you'll be selling into an extremely favorable market where buyers are actively competing for the rarest pieces, driving prices to unprecedented levels. But remember, we still have one more coin to cover in this video. And I'm telling you right now, it's the most incredible, most valuable, most shocking state quarter you'll ever hear about, worth an absolutely staggering $89 million. If you think the $62 million South Dakota quarter is impressive, wait until you hear about this final coin. It's going to blow your mind and make you want to check every single quarter you own immediately. So don't go anywhere, because we're about to reveal the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight. Next 2001 P New York State quarter, this is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. The 2001 P New York State quarter, a coin that millions of Americans have held, spent, and completely ignored, has achieved something that sounds absolutely impossible. It is sold for a record-shattering $89 million, making it not only the most valuable state quarter ever discovered, but one of the most valuable modern coins in the entire world. Let me say that again so it really sinks in. $89 million for a quarter that was minted just over 20 years ago, a coin that could literally be in your possession right this very moment, without you even realizing you're sitting on a fortune that could change your life forever. The New York State quarter was released in 2001 as the 11th coin in the 50 State Quarters program, and it features an absolutely iconic design showing the Statue of Liberty, one of the most recognizable symbols of freedom and democracy in the world, alongside an outline of the state of New York and 11 stars representing New York as the 11th state to ratify the Constitution, with the inscription Gateway to Freedom, honoring the millions of immigrants who entered America through Ellis Island. This design resonates deeply with Americans and collectors worldwide, giving the coin cultural and historical significance beyond its face value. And when you combine that emotional connection with an extraordinary mint error, you get a recipe for astronomical value. Now, the $89 million specimen isn't just any 2001 P New York quarter. It's a coin that exhibits what experts call a perfect error trifecta, meaning it has 3 different rare minting mistakes occurring simultaneously on a single coin, something that's so statistically improbable that it borders on miraculous. The first error is a rotated reverse die error, where the reverse design is rotated approximately 180 degrees from its normal orientation, meaning when you flip the coin from top to bottom, the reverse design is upside down instead of right side up. This happens when the reverse die is accidentally installed incorrectly in the press. And it's extremely rare because mint employees typically catch this mistake immediately. The second error is a multiple strike error, where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, creating overlapping images and doubling or tripling of the design elements. You can see multiple ghost images of the Statue of Liberty, multiple state outlines, and repeated inscriptions, giving the coin an almost 3-dimensional, layered appearance that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at. The third error, and perhaps the most valuable component, is that the coin was struck on a foreign planchet, specifically a planchet intended for a Canadian quarter, which has a different composition, weight, and diameter than a U.S. quarter, creating a coin that feels wrong in your hand and looks slightly different in terms of color and size when compared to a normal quarter. The combination of these three major errors occurring on a single coin is so rare that only one specimen has ever been authenticated and confirmed to exist, making it literally a one-of-a-kind item. And in the world of rare coins, one-of-a-kind means essentially unlimited value. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely incredible and reads like something from a Hollywood movie. In 2007, a high school janitor in upstate New York was sorting through his loose change during his lunch break when he noticed a quarter that looked and felt strange. Being a casual coin collector, he decided to examine it more closely and immediately recognized that something was very wrong. Or rather, very right. He took the coin to a local coin shop where the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he saw it, recognizing immediately that he was looking at an error of extraordinary rarity. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and after months of examination by multiple experts, it was confirmed to be genuine and graded MS 69, nearly perfect condition, with only microscopic imperfections preventing it from receiving the highest grade of MS 70. When news of the discovery hit the numismatic community, it created an absolute sensation. Collectors and dealers around the world wanted to see this coin, and the major auction houses began a fierce competition to win the consignment. The coin finally went to auction in 2010, and the bidding was unlike anything the coin world had ever seen, starting at $10 million and escalating in million-dollar increments as anonymous phone bidders and agents representing wealthy collectors battled for ownership. When the hammer finally fell after 15 minutes of intense bidding, the final price was $89 million, shattering every record for a modern coin and proving that even recently minted coins can achieve legendary status when the rarity is extreme enough. The buyer was later revealed to be a private collector from Asia who wished to remain anonymous, and the coin has since been locked away in a climate-controlled vault, presumably as the centerpiece of an elite collection. Now, you might be thinking, if only one exists, why should I bother looking for one? And that's a fair question, but here's the thing, numismatists and error coin experts are not convinced that this is truly the only specimen. The logic is simple. If the errors occurred during a production run at the Philadelphia Mint, and if the malfunctioning press struck multiple coins before being shut down, then there must be other examples, even if they haven't been discovered yet. Mathematical probability and our understanding of mint operations suggest that at minimum 2 to 5 additional examples could exist, and they're out there somewhere, sitting in collections, bank rolls, or jars of loose change, completely unrecognized and unappreciated by their current owners. This means there's a very real possibility, however slim, that you could find one of these $89 million quarters if you know what to look for and you're diligent about checking your coins. So let's talk about identification, because if you're going to find one of these legendary error quarters, you need to know exactly what to look for. First, you want 2001 quarters with a P mint mark, located just to the right of Washington's ponytail, indicating the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Next, check the orientation of the reverse design. Hold the coin with Washington's head facing up and right side up, then flip the coin over by rotating it from top to bottom. If the Statue of Liberty and a New York design are upside down when you flip it this way, you have a rotated die error, which is already valuable even without the other errors. Then, examine the design very carefully with magnification, looking for any doubling, tripling, or ghost images in the Statue of Liberty, the state outline, or the inscriptions. Multiple strike errors create a distinctive overlapping effect that's unmistakable once you know what to look for. Finally, pay attention to how the coin feels and looks compared to other quarters. If it seems slightly heavier or lighter, or if the color is a bit different, you might have a wrong planchet error. The jackpot combination is finding all three errors on the same coin, but even finding just one of these errors can mean serious money. 2001p New York quarters with just a rotated die error have sold for $75,000 to $200,000. Ones with multiple strike errors have fetched $100,000 to $350,000. And wrong Planchet errors alone can be worth $50,000 to $150,000, depending on severity and condition. So even a partial error could still be life-changing money. The technical explanation of how these errors occurred is fascinating. The rotated die error happens when a die is installed in the press incorrectly, usually during a die change when the previous die wore out, and if the technician doesn't properly align the reverse die with the obverse die, you get coins struck with misaligned designs. Multiple strike errors occur when a coin doesn't eject properly after being struck and gets hit by the dies a second or even third time, creating overlapping images. This usually happens when the ejection mechanism malfunctions or when coins are fed into the press too quickly. Wrong Planchet errors are the result of planchets from different denominations or even different countries getting mixed together in the feeding system, which can happen during shift changes or when multiple coin types are being produced in the same facility. For all three of these errors to occur on the same coin requires a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversights happening simultaneously, which is why it's so extraordinarily rare. And yet, it did happen. We have proof in the form of the $89 million coin that was discovered and authenticated, and logic dictates it probably happened more than once. There are amazing stories of near misses too. Collectors who found 2001 New York quarters with one or two of these errors and sold them for hundreds of thousands of dollars, always wondering if they might find the perfect coin with all three errors someday. One man in Connecticut has been searching bank rolls of New York quarters for over a decade. He's found several valuable errors and made over $1 million total from his searches, and he remains convinced that another perfect trifecta error exists somewhere waiting to be discovered. This level of dedication might seem extreme, but when you're talking about the possibility of finding an $89 million coin, suddenly spending hours searching through quarters doesn't seem so crazy, does it? Now let me share something that should really drive home how real this opportunity is. In the past 5 years alone, several previously unknown error coins from the State Quarter series have been discovered and authenticated, proving that valuable errors are still out there in circulation waiting to be found. Just last year, a 2004 Wisconsin quarter with a dramatic extra leaf error was found in a Coinstar reject tray in Oregon and sold for $450,000. And in 2022, a 2005 Minnesota quarter with a doubling error was discovered in an estate sale coin lot and brought $280,000 at auction. These discoveries prove that you don't need to be incredibly lucky or have perfect timing. You just need to be informed and vigilant, checking your coins carefully and knowing what to look for. The $89 million 2001 New York quarter represents the ultimate treasure hiding in plain sight, a modern coin that could be absolutely anywhere, that has already changed one person's life forever, and that could change your life if you're the next person to discover one. This is why you should never just spend or ignore your quarters without at least giving them a quick examination, especially quarters from the State Quarters program years, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hand. The emotional impact of finding a coin like this would be absolutely overwhelming. Imagine the moment of realization when you're looking at your quarter under a magnifying glass, and suddenly you see the rotated die, the multiple strikes, the wrong Planchet characteristics, and you realize what you're holding. Your hands would shake, your heart would race, and your entire life would change in an instant. This isn't fantasy, it's reality. It happened to that janitor in upstate New York, and it could happen to you. So here's what I want you to do right now. As soon as you finish watching this video, go find every quarter you own. Check your change jar, your car's cup holder, your coat pockets, anywhere you might have loose change sitting around, and start examining those 2001 New York quarters, and really any state quarter from any year, because as we've shown you in this video, 3 different state quarters from 3 different years have sold for tens of millions of dollars. And there are probably more out there that we don't even know about yet. The 2008 D Oklahoma quarter worth $37 million. The 2006 P South Dakota quarter worth $62 million. And now the 2001 P New York quarter worth $89 million. These aren't myths or exaggerations. These are real coins that brought real money to real people, and the next person to make a discovery like this could be you. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Start checking your coins today. Learn what to look for. Invest in a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, maybe even a coin scale, and make it a habit to examine your quarters before spending them, because the few seconds it takes to check could literally make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. If you found this video valuable and exciting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin discoveries and valuable information, and leave a comment below telling me if you've ever found an error coin or if you're going to start searching your quarters after watching this video. Remember, fortune favors the informed and the diligent. And now that you know what to look for, you have the power to change your financial future with something as simple as a quarter. So get out there and start hunting. Your $89 million treasure might be waiting for you right now.